Declined, the waiter said, staring at me like I was trying to steal lunch. His voice was loud enough that the women at the next table turned their heads. I forced a smile and handed him another card. Try this one, please. The polished wood tables, the soft music, the scent of fresh bread. This cafe was supposed to make me look like a gracious daughter-in-law. I had invited my mother-in-law out so I could treat her, show her respect. She sat across from me in her pale blue blouse, shoulders stiff, lips pressed thin. She expected perfection, and I was determined to give her that. The waiter swiped my second card. He looked back at me, expression colder this time. I'm sorry, ma'am. This one is declined too. My stomach flipped. Heat rushed to my face. I could feel people staring. My mother-in-law's eyes narrowed. She leaned in, her voice sharp as a knife. What is going on? I don't know, I whispered, fumbling through my wallet. My fingers shook. I pulled out her card and pushed it across the table. Can you try hers? She looked offended, but handed it over. The waiter didn't even hide his skepticism as he ran it. A second later, he returned, shaking his head. Declined. The word hit me like a slap. My mother-in-law's cheeks flushed deep red. You embarrassed me, she hissed, her voice trembling with rage. Do you know how this looks? The people at the table next to us were whispering. Someone laughed quietly. I wanted to sink into the floor. I pushed back my chair and stood. I'll fix this. Just wait here. My voice cracked as I walked toward the restroom, clutching my phone like a lifeline. Inside the small tiled space, I dialed the number on the back of my card. The phone rang, then a mechanical voice answered. Welcome to customer service. Please enter your account number. I punched it in, heart hammering. After a pause, the voice returned. Your card has been suspended. I froze. Suspended? Why? The line clicked, and a live representative came on. A woman's voice, calm but distant. Thank you for calling. Your account shows suspicious activity. For your safety, all cards have been temporarily blocked. Relief tried to creep in, but it didn't last. Suspicious activity? I never authorized anything. What's happening to my money? The rep hesitated. Papers rustled in the background. Ma'am, all transactions are linked to your husband's authorization. You'll need to speak with him. My breath caught. My husband? I don't understand, I said, voice shaking. These are joint accounts. How could my husband block me without my consent? Ma'am, I can only confirm what's in the system. All activity is under his approval. You'll need to discuss it with him. I pressed the phone tighter to my ear. No, listen to me. I never authorized this. I didn't spend anything unusual. I didn't touch those accounts. The rep repeated the same line, calm and unbending. All transactions linked to your husband's authorization. My knees went weak. I leaned against the cold wall for support, my hand trembling so badly I nearly dropped the phone. From outside the restroom door, I could hear the clatter of dishes, the low hum of conversation, my mother-in-law's irritated voice asking a waiter something. I felt the humiliation burning deeper than the stares in the cafe. This wasn't a simple banking error. This was personal. My own husband had somehow cut me off, without a word, without warning. I ended the call, staring at my reflection in the mirror. My makeup was flawless this morning, my hair carefully done, but now I looked hollow, my eyes wide with disbelief. I whispered to myself, barely able to hear my own words. What have you done to me? And just as the sting of humiliation threatened to drown me, the rep's final words echoed in my head, sharper than anything my mother-in-law had said. All transactions linked to your husband's authorization. My house key didn't fit the lock. I jiggled it, pushed harder, tried again, but the metal didn't even slide in. My stomach dropped as a sick thought crawled up my throat. The key wasn't broken. The lock had been changed. Behind me, my mother-in-law clutched her purse tightly. She glanced at the expensive SUV in the driveway, the one my husband insisted we both owned, and whispered, "Why would he change it?" I swallowed hard. I don't know, but I'm going to find out. I pressed the doorbell. A faint clicking sound came from above. I looked up and saw the red light of the security camera blinking. My own front porch, suddenly foreign, watching me like I was an intruder. The speaker crackled, and then my husband's voice poured out, smooth but laced with steel. Don't make a scene. My throat tightened. Open the door. We need to talk. No, he said flatly. This is my house now. You can't spend what you didn't earn. My knees nearly buckled. The words hit harder than a slap. What are you talking about? This is our home. Our money. Beside me, my mother-in-law gasped. She stepped closer to the camera. How dare you treat us like this? You froze me out too. My card, my bracelet, all gone. Do you know what shame you've brought on us? There was silence for a moment, and then his laugh came through, cruel and low. You'll survive. Both of you. I clenched my fists. You drained our accounts, didn't you? That's why the cards didn't work today. He didn't deny it. Every dollar in those accounts was mine. I just took back what belonged to me. That's not true. I shouted, my voice cracking. I worked, I saved, I contributed. You can't erase me like this. His tone turned sharper. You spent years living off me. Now it's over. I'm done. My mother-in-law slammed her fist against the door. You ungrateful son. After everything I sacrificed for you, this is how you repay us? A curtain shifted across the street. A neighbor's face peeked out, then quickly disappeared. Another window lit up. Whispers spread as shadows gathered behind glass. Everyone was watching. My humiliation had become a neighborhood spectacle. I pressed my forehead to the door, my voice breaking into a plea. Please, just let us in. We don't have anywhere to go right now. Talk to me face to face. Don't do this through a camera. His reply was ice cold. You don't live here anymore. Take your pity party somewhere else. The intercom clicked off. Silence. For a moment, the only sound was my mother-in-law's ragged breathing and the faint hum of the security light above us. Then suddenly the garage door rumbled open. My husband's car rolled out, headlights blinding, engine roaring like a beast. I staggered back as the SUV stopped at the edge of the driveway. Through the windshield I saw his face, calm, smug, untouchable. He rolled down the window. You'll hear from my lawyer. Then he revved the engine and sped away, leaving us in the dark, dust swirling around our feet. I stood there frozen, staring at the house that used to be mine, the lock that used to welcome me, the walls that once held my life, and for the first time that night, fury rose sharper than fear. At my sister's kitchen table, I spread out the bank statements I'd finally retrieved. The papers looked out of place here. Her kitchen was small and cramped, with a flickering light above us, and linoleum floors that creaked. A far cry from the marble counters and stainless steel appliances I had left behind. The contrast was almost unbearable, her modest home against the memory of my luxurious one now stolen. My sister slid a cup of coffee toward me and sat down. She studied my face for a long moment before speaking. Are you ready to see the truth? I nodded, though my hands trembled as I pulled the first page closer. At first the numbers blurred. Then, as I traced the columns, the reality started to hit me. Transfers. Large amounts, one after another. Each labeled as business expenses. Each pulled from our joint account. My throat tightened. These aren't business expenses, I whispered. My sister leaned closer, pointing at the dates. Look, he moved money every Friday. Same account number every time? I swallowed hard and followed the trail. The funds all ended in one destination, a shell account I didn't recognize. Hopelessness tugged at me. The bank had given me almost nothing when I begged for answers. The lawyer I consulted wanted a retainer I couldn't pay. But here, on my sister's table, the truth was forming anyway. He planned this, I said softly. She reached for my hand. Keep going. You'll find more, and I did. Hidden in the transactions was a second layer. Hotel stays, jewelry stores, payments disguised as consulting fees. My chest burned as I realized what it meant. A mistress. I closed my eyes, breathing through the sting. All that money. It wasn't just to freeze me out. He was building another life. My sister squeezed my hand tighter. Then you need proof. Real proof. That night I couldn't sleep. The image of my husband, smiling coldly as he told me I hadn't earned a dime, wouldn't leave me. He wasn't just cruel, he was calculated. If I didn't get evidence, he would erase me completely. The next morning, I made a decision. I went to his office. The receptionist looked startled when I walked in. Her eyes darted toward the glass doors of his private office, then back to me. I need some documents, I told her, forcing calm into my voice. She hesitated. I'm not supposed to. I lowered my voice, leaning across the counter. Please, he's hiding things. He's stolen from me, from his own mother. I just need the truth. Her lips pressed together. She glanced around the room, then slid open a drawer. Slowly, she pulled out a thin folder. She whispered, He said not to give this to you. But you deserve to know. My pulse quickened as I took it. I slipped it into my bag without opening it, thanking her with a look that carried more desperation than words. I left the office quickly, heart racing, half expecting him to storm out and catch me. But the lobby doors closed behind me, and I was out on the street, free. Back at my sister's, I laid the folder on the table like it was a bomb. My fingers trembled as I flipped it open. At first I saw only letters and signatures, but then the words sharpened and my stomach lurched, filed 2 weeks ago. His name. My name. Divorce petition. I dropped into the chair, my breath shallow, the room spinning around me. He hadn't just drained the accounts or locked me out. He had already set the final trap in motion. My sister's voice was faint, like it came from far away. What does it say? I stared at the words, unable to look away. It says, he filed for divorce before he even threw me out. She opened the door in my silk robe. For a moment I couldn't breathe. The deep emerald fabric, the one my husband had gifted me years ago for our anniversary, now draped across the shoulders of a stranger. She leaned casually against the frame of the sleek downtown condo, her lips curling into a smug smile. "Oh," she said, her voice dripping with mock sweetness. "You must be her, as if I didn't even deserve a name." I forced my chin higher. "Yes, I'm his wife." She laughed lightly, stepping aside as though she owned the place. "Ex-wife, soon enough." "Come in if you dare." The condo gleamed. Glass walls, polished stone counters, expensive art on the walls. All of it paid for with money I had saved, money ripped from my accounts. She sank into a white leather chair, tugging the robe closer around her body. "He told me you'd show up eventually. Said you were clingy, useless, couldn't stand on your own 2 feet. Her words stung, but I refused to let her see the pain. I slid my phone from my pocket, setting it discreetly on the edge of the table with the recorder running. My voice was calm, deliberate. "If I'm so useless, then why does everything you're wearing belong to me?" She arched a brow, pretending not to understand, until she reached for the glass of wine on the table. That's when I saw it, a bracelet. Thin gold links, delicate stones. My mother-in-law's heirloom bracelet, the one she swore had vanished from her jewelry box. Rage surged hot in my chest, but I held it down, kept my tone steady. "That bracelet. Do you even know where it came from?" She glanced at it and smiled wider. "He gave it to me, said it was nothing, just a family trinket." She lifted her wrist into the light, showing it off like a prize. I swallowed hard, my voice low. "It wasn't his to give," she shrugged, utterly unbothered. "Well, it's mine now. Just like he is." Every muscle in my body screamed to lash out, to rip it from her hand, but instead I leaned forward, voice smooth as ice. "So all of this, the condo, the jewelry, even that robe, you admit it all came from him?" "Of course." She gave me a sly look. "You should be thanking me, actually. He's happier than ever. Said with me, he finally feels alive." Her arrogance was unbearable. Still, I forced her to keep talking, my recorder catching every word. I tilted my head. "And he told you I was clingy and useless?" She smirked. "Exactly his words. He said you never contributed a thing. That's why he cut you off, why he's building a life with me instead." The fury inside me cooled suddenly, solidifying into something sharper. Not fire, ice. My heart stopped pounding. My hands no longer shook, because now I had her confession. Her pride had given me exactly what I needed. I stood slowly, meeting her eyes. "You think you've won, but you don't even see it, do you?" Her brows furrowed slightly. "See what?" I allowed myself a small, cold smile. "You're wearing stolen goods, living in a stolen home, built on stolen money. And you just admitted it all to me." For the first time, her smirk faltered, just slightly. But then she threw her head back and laughed, loud and cruel. "You really think anyone will believe you? Please, he's already moved on. He's marrying me next month." The word sliced through me, sharper than any blade. My knees nearly gave out, but I forced myself to stand tall, to keep my face unreadable, because while she laughed, I knew something she didn't. I had her confession recorded, every poisoned word preserved. "Sign here," I said sweetly, sliding the papers across the cafe table. My fingers brushed against the pen, pushing it toward him as though I were offering nothing more dangerous than a grocery list. The cafe hummed with chatter and clinking cups. A perfect cover. Neutral ground. Public space. He thought I had chosen it because I was intimidated, because I needed witnesses in case he raised his voice. What he didn't know was that I wanted him exactly here. Relaxed, arrogant, careless. He leaned back in his chair, smirking, one arm stretched across the booth. "You really think this little meeting changes anything? You'll crawl back when you're broke." I forced a smile, though inside my stomach tightened. "Maybe. Or maybe I've learned to stand on my own 2 feet." He scoffed, lifting his coffee. "Without me, you were always useless. I built everything. I earned everything. You just tagged along." Every word felt like a slap, but I kept my mask in place. I had rehearsed this moment 100 times, and I couldn't afford a single misstep. "Maybe you're right," I said softly, lowering my eyes in mock defeat. "But I don't want to fight. I just want this over with. No alimony, no claims. You keep your assets, I walk away. Clean and quiet." That got his attention. His smugness sharpened into suspicion, but greed won out. "No alimony?" he repeated. almost savoring the words. I nodded. I've accepted reality. The papers sat between us. Innocent, plain, just another divorce agreement. Only I knew what lay buried within the text. A carefully crafted paragraph drafted with the help of a volunteer attorney at the free legal aid clinic. Hidden in the jargon, almost invisible, was a single line requiring him to acknowledge that he had diverted funds from our marital accounts into a separate business entity. A shell account, his little vault of secrets. If he signed, he would admit everything. He grabbed the first page, skimming lazily. His lips curved in a cruel smile. Good. Finally, you're learning your place. My heart thudded so hard I worried the whole cafe could hear it. My palms itched with sweat under the table. If he read too closely, if he spotted the line, everything would collapse. I leaned forward, lowering my voice like a conspirator. You'll be free. Free to live however you want, with whomever you want. That did it. His eyes glinted, and I saw the flicker of her, the mistress, in his mind. He set down the page, barely glancing at the rest. Fine, he said. But don't come crying to me when you realize what you gave up. Of course, I whispered. I watched as he scrawled his signature at the bottom, his pen slicing across the paper with reckless confidence. The moment the ink dried, the tremor inside me transformed into something fierce. Triumph. My fear cracked open, replaced by an icy calm. I had him. He shoved the pen back toward me. There. Done. Now go live in whatever hole you can afford. You're nothing without me. I let my lips curl into a small, knowing smile. Funny, I murmured, tucking the signed document into my folder. You've already given me exactly what I need. His brow furrowed, the first crack in his armor. What's that supposed to mean? I rose slowly, standing tall for the first time in months. Don't worry. You'll find out soon enough. He snatched the remaining pages, scanning them at last, and I saw the moment his expression changed. His smugness froze. His eyes darted to the line, then back to me. The cafe noise faded under the sharp hiss of his breath. You tricked me, he spat, his voice rising, drawing curious glances from nearby tables. You think this will hold up? You think anyone will believe this? I slid the folder into my bag with deliberate calm. Your signature is all the belief I need. His chair screeched against the floor as he surged up, face red with fury. You tricked me, he roared, his voice echoing through the cafe, silencing the clatter of dishes and the murmur of conversation. For once, I didn't flinch. I only looked back at him, my heart steady, my lips curved in quiet victory, because this time, he wasn't the one holding the weapon. Mrs. Roberts, please present your evidence, the judge said. My hands shook as I rose, clutching the folder against my chest. The courtroom smelled faintly of old wood and stale air, the weight of 100 stories of betrayal pressed into its walls. Across from me, my husband sat with his polished, expensive lawyer, smugness practically dripping off him. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, a smile playing at his lips as if he had already won. The judge adjusted his glasses. We'll hear both sides today. Mrs. Roberts, proceed. I took a slow breath and stepped forward. My husband's lawyer rose immediately, his voice smooth and cutting. Your Honor, my client has already provided evidence that Mrs. Roberts is a reckless spender. She drained their accounts with her carelessness. This divorce should leave him with his rightful property. Lies. The same lies he'd been spinning for months. My chest tightened, dread creeping into my lungs. What if the judge believed him? What if all my planning fell apart here in this sterile room? I forced myself to look at the judge, not at the sneer across the table. Your Honor, I have evidence that proves otherwise. I pulled out the first piece, the audio recording. My fingers fumbled slightly as I pressed play, and the courtroom filled with the mistress's taunting voice. He said you were clingy and useless. And then my own voice, steady, baiting her. Then why does everything you wear belong to me? Her smug laugh echoed through the speakers. He's marrying me next month, the courtroom murmured, whispers darting like sparks. My husband's face shifted, just slightly, his jaw tightening. The judge lifted a hand. Order. Continue, Mrs. Roberts. I laid the second weapon on the table, the signed document. My voice did not shake this time. This agreement was presented to my husband at a neutral location. He signed it of his own free will. The judge scanned the pages, eyes narrowing at the damning line. He turned sharply to my husband. Do you deny this signature? For the first time, silence from the man who had tormented me. His lawyer leaned close, whispering urgently, but the judge repeated firmer. Mr. Roberts, do you deny this signature? A muscle twitched in his cheek. No. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. My heart hammered, but now it wasn't fear. It was hope. rising for the first time in so long. I wasn't finished. Your Honor, I would also like to call a witness. The bailiff opened the door, and in walked my mother-in-law, her silver hair pinned neatly, her expression tight with fury. She stepped forward, lifting her wrist. That bracelet, my family's heirloom, vanished from my home. I believed it stolen. My son gave it to his mistress. That is not his property to give away. The judge leaned back, expression hardening. He glanced at my husband. Mr. Roberts? My husband's lawyer stammered, but the judge's gavel slammed down. Enough. The evidence is clear. You siphoned marital funds into a private account. You transferred assets improperly. You committed marital fraud. My knees nearly buckled. Those words, marital fraud, rang like music in my ears. The judge continued, firm and final. This court orders restitution of the stolen funds. Property acquired through fraudulent transfer shall be returned. Mrs. Roberts is entitled to her fair share of the estate. I wanted to weep, but instead I stood straighter, the icy calm from the cafe returning, stronger now, transformed into something radiant. Vindication. Across the room, my husband's face turned crimson. The mask of arrogance cracked, fury spilling through. He slammed his hand on the table, shouting, You think this is over? You think you've won? I'll destroy you for this. The bailiff moved quickly, stepping between him and the bench as his shouts filled the chamber. You'll regret this, he roared, thrashing as they dragged him back. You're nothing without me. But this time the words didn't cut. This time I only watched him being pulled away, his threats growing fainter as the gavel echoed one final time. Court is adjourned. I stood in the silence that followed, the weight of dread finally lifting from my chest. For the first time in months I was free. I opened the same cafe menu where it all began. This time, my card went through. The little green checkmark on the machine felt like a private victory, small but undeniable. No declined transaction, no humiliation, just proof that I was standing again, on my own 2 feet. Across the table, my mother-in-law studied me with sharp, thoughtful eyes. Weeks ago, she had looked at me with suspicion, convinced I was part of her son's lies, maybe even complicit. But today her expression was different. Pride, even admiration, softened her lined face. She lifted her coffee cup, letting the steam curl around her. He thought he'd break you. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. He only taught me how strong I can be. The words surprised me as they left my mouth, because they weren't just something I was saying to comfort myself. They were true. I was stronger. Not because of him, but in spite of him. The cafe was busy with the chatter of lunchtime regulars. The same place where he'd signed away his freedom without realizing it now felt transformed. No longer a battlefield, but a meeting ground for healing. I took a sip of my coffee, savoring it, letting the bitterness remind me that even sharp tastes could be embraced, survived, and enjoyed. My mother-in-law leaned closer, lowering her voice. I'll admit something to you. I underestimated you. I thought you'd crumble under the weight of what he did, but you fought smarter than all of us. Her honesty warmed me more than the coffee. For months I'd felt isolated, doubted, even judged. Now to hear those words from her, you fought smarter, felt like a medal pinned to my chest. I didn't know I had it in me, I said quietly. She reached across the table, covering my hand with hers. That's what strength is. It doesn't show up until you're tested. I nodded, feeling the truth settle inside me. For so long I'd lived in fear. Fear of losing the house. Fear of being penniless. Fear of facing a courtroom alone. Even now, faint shadows lingered. What if betrayal came again? What if trust was just another trap? But as I sat there, I realized something. Fear didn't own me anymore. It was simply part of the landscape. Something I could navigate. Not something that would drown me. I looked out the cafe window, where autumn leaves swirled in the wind. Change had arrived, uninvited and brutal, but maybe it wasn't the enemy. Maybe it was the beginning of a different life, one I was finally ready to shape for myself. Do you have plans? My mother-in-law asked, curiosity in her tone. Not yet, I admitted. But that's the best part. I get to choose this time. Where I live, what I do, who I trust. It's my life again, she smiled, a proud, almost relieved smile. Good, that's what he never understood. Money, power, control. He thought those made him invincible. But real power is surviving when someone tries to take everything from you. And you did. I felt the corners of my lips lift into a genuine smile. The first in what felt like ages. I raised my cup, holding it between us. To survival, I said. She clinked hers against mine. To new beginnings. We drank, sealing the quiet promise. For the first time, I wasn't haunted by the echo of his voice. I wasn't replaying the courtroom or the betrayal or the countless nights of despair. Instead, my mind was clear, calm, steady. The storm had passed, and what remained was not ruins, but a foundation. Stronger than before. The cafe noise swelled around us, ordinary and alive. People laughed, spoons clinked against plates, the barista called out an order, and I sat there, breathing it all in, knowing I had stepped into something new. No cliffhanger, no looming threat. Just a chapter closing, and another waiting to be written. If you were hooked by this journey from betrayal to justice, don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Your stories matter too.